Hey guys, the next speaker is the Mr. Jimmy Kim. He owns a company called SendLane that sends out billions of emails per year. And he's talking about inboxing right, how to make sure your emails that you send to your marketing emails that you send end up in the inbox and not in the spam folder or in the promotions folder. So enjoy. Cheers.
Flipped it the wrong way. Hold on.
No, you're wrong.
Oh, no. Better? Worse, better. You guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Cool. All right. All right. So before I just get started, one of the things that I like to just kind of talk about are just events in general, just because events are one of the things that helped me become who I am 8 years ago when I first started in this industry. So I see a lot of you guys are new, you're green. You guys are in a very cool spot to be here, and especially all the other partners and everyone else that is in here. So it's always exciting to see that. You guys should definitely give you guys a pat in the back. But when I talk about this, one of the things that I always talk about when I come to events, and I want to make sure, and we were just talking about motivational stuff with Chris and Jay just a second ago, so I might as well continue on that. You got to set yourself goals. So I talk about this pretty often with events because you guys all come here, you learn all sorts of stuff, you meet all sorts of people, and well, you leave here, and whenever you leave here, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whenever you leave here, you get home and then life hits you, right? Work, job, everything hits you, right? So you go home, you're all motivated, you go home, and then life hits you, then you forget. You got all these things. So I always talk about this, and I do this personally to myself as well, is I'm always looking for 3 things that I take away from here, right? There's 2 things. 3 things I take away from here, I try to take away that I can implement next week. And then I take 3 things from what I learned here that I can implement in the next 6 months. It's really important to make sure you're getting the value out of it, because you guys can come there, just flew from all over the world. I've met all sorts of different people out there, and regardless of where you're from and how far you've flown, you guys have spent time and money to come here. So you gotta make sure it's worth it. So just make sure you keep that in mind. I just wanted to start it off with that. So today I'm gonna talk about email marketing. I'm talking about inboxing. I called this thing 12 things you should do to inbox better. So we're gonna jump right in, all right? So I'm gonna start off and talk about, this isn't working. Hello? Or not. Why doesn't this work? Hold on one second. Why is this being weird? All right, cool, there we go. All right, so I'll talk about myself just a little bit, real quick, just to talk about me, just to show you guys my story, share with you all the details about myself. So I'm from San Diego, so I'm 45 minutes away, flight here, real simple and easy. I come out in Las Vegas quite often. I've been an internet marketer for 8 years, a little over 8 years now, and a business owner as well. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of a company called SendLane. It's an autoresponder company. Some of you guys are aware of the company, some of you are not, but now you should be. I'm also the CEO of Snap Tactics. It's my digital marketing automation company. And I'm also the COO and managing partner of a company called New. It's a clothing store. It's a streetwear brand actually here in Las Vegas. So I spend a lot of time here in Las Vegas. It's a physical store, e-commerce store, and so forth. All right. Combined, my companies do a little over $8 million a year right now, and we're still growing. All right, so before all that, I like to talk about it, just to talk about my story, what I did. I started actually from the bottom. When I was 16 years old, I started washing cars. That's where I started my journey of life and my career. So through those years, I started when I was just 16 years washing cars, and through just being very persistent and just wanting to learn, I was able to grow really fast through my career in the automotive industry. And eventually, I've jumped from washing cars to becoming a head lot attendant, to becoming car salesman, to becoming a finance manager, to becoming a finance director, to becoming a sales manager. And at the age of 25, I was the youngest general manager for a General Motors store in the United States. So it was a really cool thing. I was actually managing 3 different Saturn stores. It was a lot of fun. But then GM went bankrupt. I'm sure you guys all remember this, 2007, 2008, General Motors went bankrupt, and they said, well, we're gonna kill the Saturn stores. And when that happened, I had to make a decision. And I was actually offered ownership to stay and take an ownership position into a Kia store that they were building in one of the Saturn stores, and I decided it's not what I want to do in my life. I didn't have freedom. I was working like 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and I was tired, right? I was tired, I knew that, and at that time, I actually knew this guy. It was a friend of mine. I didn't actually know what he did, and most of you guys probably know who this guy is. And this guy, in 2007, I met him. I actually ironically met him here in Las Vegas, and he ended up living 5 minutes down the street from me, and we became friends. And during that time, it was actually really interesting, and I remember when General Motors announced that announcement, and I knew my job time was shortening right there, and I had to make a decision. I went to him one night, and I said, "What do you do now?" Like, we had never talked about work. We were just friends. We'd go hang out. We'd go, we go to bars. We'd go watch movies, whatever. But so what do you do? And he started telling me that. And the first thing I said, I said, wait, are you scamming people? Like, what are you doing? Like, the idea of internet marketing is so general and vague. And you guys always shaking your head. It's very vague. And the first time you hear it, sometimes you just aren't really sure what they're actually doing. So it was actually really interesting. And once he kind of explained it, we made a barter. So at that time when I met on it, he was in a lot of trouble with his business. He was in $1.6 million debt. He was in a lot of trouble. His company had grown out of control. He couldn't manage it because he didn't have the corporate structure. So we made a barter, actually. And it was a great barter for me, of course. It was a great barter for him, too. I got him out of debt. So that's the day that we turned, and I said, all right, I'm going to run your company. I'm going to help flip this whole thing around. I'm going to organize it. I'm going to structure it. I'm going to get you out of debt, but you've got to teach me internet marketing. And that's where my journey really started. All right? So, what are my goals today? Let's talk about my goals today, what I'm going to teach you guys, all right? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share my wisdom. I'm going to kind of teach you the world of internet email marketing. I'm not going to go too basic because I'm sure all of you guys at least know the basics of email marketing. So I don't want to go too much further into it, but I'm going to teach you the basics of it. I'm going to tell you how to improve your engagement, something that a lot of people talk about, getting into inbox, engaging your subscribers, and being able to talk to your subscribers to make sure that you're, that you're getting into their box and getting sales, right? And the last thing I want to help you just become a better email marketer. So those are my goals today. And of course, that came out really small, but I do have notes available at the end. I've got the whole presentation for download. I'll give you a link at the end, make it really easy and everything, okay? So I talked about this just for a second. What makes me an expert? People always ask. You got to know. Got to show you guys. So I co-founded this company called Seinfeld in 2013. Actually started for us as a solution to a problem. At that time, all these companies, the big email marketing companies, don't like affiliate marketers, digital marketers, because they love local business. They love the mom and pop store, the e-commerce store. That's what they like because that's what they know is tangible. So they like those. So we were having problems back then in 2013 as a digital marketer, and we kind of recognized, hey, we got to do something. So we started off actually doing it for ourselves. We built this program for ourselves, and we said, let's build it. Well, over the last year, we started in 2015 of January, we actually started to take our first customer in. And now as I stand here, we've got over 20,000 customers using our service right now. We're delivering over 150 million emails a month, and we've delivered a total of 3.2 billion emails since we started our inception. So it's been a great journey so far, and the number one thing I'll tell you that I got out of all that so far is data. That is knowledge, right? I see the numbers, I see the things that people are doing, I see everybody's accounts, all the big guys, the small guys. We've got all sorts of different people, from the biggest motivational speakers like Les Brown, or like the big business guy like Robert Kiyosaki on our platform. And we got all these big people on there, and there's nothing better than seeing the data that these people provide. So what I'm basing my talk on today is things that I've seen, the things that I do in my business, things I teach, but it's what I do, what we feel is the best, what we try to teach people, but it doesn't mean it's the perfect thing. I want to make sure that's clear, that I'm not telling you the thing that is absolutely perfect. Your business, you got to make your decisions, of course, right? So first, let's talk about making you a better marketer, right? That's the main thing we do. So I want to start talking about this, right? So here's 5 things you should be doing as an email marketer, and we're going to dive into each one of them right away, okay? So I've got 5 things. I'll just kind of go over it. The cookie system, instant authority, event-based email marketing, the Seinfeld experience, and understanding the 3 E's. So these are the things that I do as an email marketer, things that go in my head when I start doing my different things in email. So we're going to jump into each one right now, all right? So first, let's identify the 3 types of email marketers out there, because I always want to identify these to make sure, okay? So you've got the first guy. got a schedule, he promotes, he treats it like a business, and he makes sure that he's got scheduling, all that. Then there's the guys that baby their lists. These are the guys that go out and they just share so much value, and they overvalue the list most times. They give out so much free stuff, and they're just trying to make sure that they're keeping their customers happy. And then the last guy is the hammer down baby. So I call that the hammer down. There's the guy who just promotes offer the offer and just goes through every offer just to make sure that they're making as much money as they can. And there's nothing wrong with any of these. Absolutely nothing wrong with any of these. It's your business model. It's what you want to do. I've seen very successful people in every way possible when it comes down to it. But today I'm going to make sure that I just kind of teach you things that maybe you can use in your system in order to make sure that you are maximizing the value that you're providing and maximizing the income and the money you can make when it comes down to it, right? So the first thing I have is the cookie system. So the cookie system is pretty simple, and I'm going to teach you that real quick, okay? It's a give and take system designed for balance. It's something that I do for myself. It's something that a lot of marketers do unknowingly sometimes and knowingly other times, but it's a system that if you really think about it, it can help you maintain the longevity of your email list. When you build an email list, it's an asset, it's a business. It's that one thing that you have that no matter what happens to the rest of your business, that email list could revive your business overnight, right? So it's always important to make sure that you're thinking about it. So it's best done by example, and I actually meant to grab some cookies so I can actually do it like real, but then they took it away, so I couldn't do it. So I'm gonna have imaginary cookies in my hand. I'm gonna tell you guys about this right now. So imagine this, right? My right hand here, or to your left, I guess, is the customer, and this is me on the left-hand side, right? Or the right-hand side. So I'm gonna just talk about it on my side so I don't confuse myself, right? So you got these, and we got imaginary. So I've got a stack of cookies on my side, and this is my customer on the right side. So it's all about what the cookie system is very simple. You gotta drive value, and you gotta drive a relationship based on this. So if I give my customer a cookie, he's got a cookie in his hand, right? And that idea is simple. He's got a cookie in his hand, he's happy. People like cookies, just to say, they like feeling that they're valuable. But the moment you take that cookie away, it's always important to make sure you stack a valuable cookie in their hand, or making sure that they have value in their hand. Now, when I say this, it really comes down to like building your list, right? So you guys know, I'm sure the basics, you build a squeeze page, drive traffic, build a list. You got an autoresponder, yada, 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 sell a product, whatever you may do to build your list. Now, in order to drive a great relationship for your list, it's all about being able to take and give and take. Look, your customers know you're in the business to make money. They know that you have a business. They know they're not sitting there thinking that you're only going to give them free stuff. They know that they're not there, and they're not going to feel they feel like you're stealing from them or whatever it may be. They're in there. Most of the customers, now there's a small percentage that are going to anger at you no matter what you do, and you don't want them on your list anyways. So what the cookie system is very simple. If you're going to promote them, you got to do it in a way where you're offering them a cookie, giving them value, and anytime you're taking that cookie, you've got to replenish that cookie and make sure they have cookies. The moment they don't have a cookie in their hand is the moment they stop wanting to listen to you. It's the moment they don't want to believe in you. It's the moment that they don't really care about you. So a lot of these things, like we talked about the whole hammer down baby, the big problem that I see with some guys when it comes to email marketing is if you just hammer down on that guy, they're going to leave you eventually. And that's what happens when people call their list died or their list is unresponsive. That's what occurred. They stopped listening to you. They stopped trusting you. So that's the cookie system in a nutshell. Just real simple and easy. But the idea is there. It's all about give and take. All right? So the next one is talking about instant authority. And I know some of you guys do that in here. I'm just looking around, seeing who's here that does it. So creating the idea of authority is important. Look, when they opt into your email list or they join your email list, they did it because they look at you as the expert. Remember that. They look at you as the expert, regardless if you're not the expert. Just remember, what you may know is always going to be better than what they probably do know. And there's going to be some, obviously, on the other side. But in the majority of spaces, when they're opting into your list or they're joining your email list, it's because they look up to you. So it's all about creating instant authority. So this is something that's pretty powerful. Leveraging a blog or review site. Pretty simple. People think that it's so hard to create a blog, but you can jump on Fiverr, you can jump on wherever and create a blog for under $100. It doesn't have to be the prettiest thing in the world. It just needs to have some information on there that you can teach them something on. And what it does is it really helps you maintain consistency with your messaging. Messaging is important, giving that information, keeping in touch with it, and having something like that is really powerful. So creating instant authority is one of the things that I talk about to help you create the reason for your audience to listen to you. It's really simple, really straightforward. They look at it, they trust you. Not only that, but we're on a digital marketplace or a digital world. So having a website is like virtual real estate, right? So having a place that they can come visit, it feels like something that they actually can see, feel. That's important to them. If they just see that you're just emailing them, they have no idea who you are. You just run into a problem where you're just like, the trust factor, I guess, it doesn't resonate a lot of times. So it's important to have something that creates and makes sure that you're an authority. And creating a blog or review site, real simple to do, a really powerful way to make sure that you're in touch with it. So this is another thing I talk about. I talk about event-based marketing. So you guys know how events work. You guys are here at an event. You got an itinerary, you got a schedule. Obviously, they've got a schedule where they're welcoming you, they're teaching you, and then they're closing the door, right? Closing the loop. When it comes to email marketing, it should be no different. Events can help you create trust and sales. So I talk about this pretty often when it comes down to it. Your list is at a different stage each day. Every day, people have things going on in their lives. So it's important that you're creating an event with these people. You're focusing your attention, your audience's attention. So the reason I talk about event-based marketing is very simple. If you create an event, create a feeling of how they're taken through a journey with you, instead of just promoting one offer, promoting another offer, but instead going through and creating a message, getting them engaged, bringing them through the cycle, closing the cycle. You become a completely different email marketer, because then you've got a point where you're keeping them focused and you're leveraging your email as an event for a site. That's really important. When you open and close, you guys have seen the close, right? Like a offer is closing, you start getting these emails, people are emailing you and they're like, oh, it's closing, it's closing. The reason why that works so well is because it's an event, it's exciting, it's closing, it's time, urgency, scarcity, everything starts hitting when you do an event-based email marketing correctly. All right, so let's talk about the Seinfeld experience. I actually talk about the Seinfeld experience. How many people know Seinfeld, right? Everybody? Yeah, most people know Seinfeld. Some of the people overseas might not know Seinfeld. Well, the show was about absolutely nothing. That's what the show was about. And that was the beauty of the show, because there was always a start, a middle, and an end in every show, but it was just a show about nothing. You just talk about stuff. When I talk about email and relationships and engagement, what the thing was really, what was always exciting about the show was that it always left you hungry for more. It was always important that they would come in, they would learn, and they would do it. But it's not like, it doesn't have to be, the best way is you don't have to always have a purpose with these emails. It's about fluff. It's weird, but creating a fluff, or I don't know what the best word is, but kind of relating them with you. So if I start talking about stuff, so I start my email, let's just say I send an email today, and I'm like, hey guys, this is Jimmy Kim, and I'm sitting here in Las Vegas at an event held by Simon John, and I've been learning all sorts of different things. This one guy in particular was teaching me all about email marketing. So you see, I started to build a story up, and it kind of gives you a reason to want to listen to me, instead of just saying, hey guys, I've got a great email marketing course. You got to check it out right now. It's amazing. It's going to make you $1 billion, Check it out now. No one wants to hear that. But if you sit there and you create a relationship by using what Seinfeld, I didn't really share with you guys anything. I'm in Vegas, I'm here, it's irrelevant. But it's by speaking that message and relationship with that consumer that it makes it a different experience, all right? So it's all about creating an adventure or a story, all right? The next thing I'm going to talk about is, and it stopped again. 1 second. Doesn't like Max. All right, 1 second. All right, so we'll talk about the 3 E's next. This is something that I talk about. It's pretty interesting, it's pretty exciting. It's the 3 E's. Here are the 3 E's. Excite, educate, edify. All right, I'm gonna dive into each one right now. All right, so the first thing is about excitement, all right? So this is what a perfect email has. These are the 3 things that you should be thinking about when you're creating a perfect email. And the reason why you think about these things is because it goes in a pattern, and it's designed to do the 3 things: excite, educate, and edify. If you don't know what edify means, it means to click a call to action, right? So excite, the subject in the first line of your message. The subject of your email and the first line of your message is what's displayed in most autoresponders when, your email service when you get an email. So it's important that you're exciting your audience. So that excitement comes with that subject line, making sure that you can grab their attention and excite them and grab their attention, want them to open your email, right? That's the first thing you want to do. Then the next thing we talk about, educate. That's the body of your email. That's where you're going to teach them something. You're going to talk to them about something, maybe free, maybe you're promoting something, whatever it may be. You want to make sure that you are educating them on it. And then the last thing, pretty simple. It's about the call of action, right? Edify means to get someone to do something. It's all about calling that action. Don't be soft about it. Be hard about it. They want to know what to do next. You know, you've got to train your audience to know what they want to do, because that email or that subscriber of yours, they're looking at you as that authority like we spoke to. So it's so important to make sure that you're thinking about, okay, how do I get them to actually do it? So it's important to make sure it's done, and to make sure it's hard, and make sure it's transparent. It's very important, especially in 2016. I'll tell you, as much as I've seen email and the different types of emails and the revolution and this evolution of change of email over the last 8 years, there was a point where email has changed from the short to the long to the, when I first started in 2008, emails used to be 1,500 words, 2,000 words. They were long. They're super long. These marketers thought you had to basically create a sales page every time. Then they got really short. Then they've kind of gotten longer and medium. But in 2016, one of the things that I've noticed, the best email marketers are all about being transparent. Tell them what it is. Don't be scared. Tell them about the product. Tell them about it. They don't have time. An average person spends 90 seconds checking email per day, and they get an average of 145 emails a day. The last thing they want to do is read a 2,000-word blog from you on your email, sharing all sorts of things. Instead, make sure you get through the points, make sure you're getting through them well, but it's a good email will accomplish all three of these, making sure that you excite them, get their attention, explain to them why you're emailing them today, and get them to do something. Click. And that's what's important when it comes down to it at the end of the day. All right? And that is, and don't forget to get to the point. So let's recap this part here, and then we'll jump to the next part here. So real quick recap, we talked about the 5 things you should do, the cookie system, that was really simple, instant authority, you guys should forget that, event-based marketing, Seinfeld experience, and the 3 E's, okay? So this, I kind of split it up because I wanted to talk about a little bit more about relationship side of it, and then I wanted to talk about inbox delivery, just making sure that we do it. So I can't go over, I can spend hours talking about delivery and how to make sure that your inbox delivery increases to the best in the world, but I'm going to talk about the 7 points, I think is what it is, of email delivery that you should be doing, everybody should do it, no matter how big or small you are. These are important. These are things that help us as email marketers and marketers to each other. One of the weird things about the internet marketing space that's very different from any other business is that we work in a place of co-opetition and not competition, because I'm promoting this guy, I'm promoting John, but Joe, Bob, Sue, and they promote me back, and we promote each other because we're affiliate marketers. You don't see that. John's Pizza Shop doesn't promote Gary's Pizza Shop and say, hey, go to his pizza shop today, he's running a special. They don't do that in real life. But on online, it changes, right? So when you have a difference in that, it's important that your email delivery is great because, not only is it your income or your money that you make, but it's also the way that you show each other, that you care about each other's business. So let's talk about email delivery. So the first thing I stop on is copy and paste. So you go to, I'm going to talk in the sense of if you're going to a product that you want to promote, you go to an affiliate page, right? Pretty simple and straightforward. They usually have these things called email swipes. Real simple and easy. It's something that you use. Can't copy and paste anymore. So in 2015, mid-2015, Google released an algorithm that basically is very simple. If you copy and paste emails, the more times it's copy and paste, the more time, the increase likely it's going to go to promotion tab or it's going to go to spam. So make sure you're speaking. And not to mention, let's talk about the copy and paste. I just talked about relationship building. If you're copying and pasting 5 different guys' emails for the next 5 days, what happens? You have 5 different voices because each email is different, written by a different person, right? Instead, if you can centralize it, what I like to do with email swipes is very simple. I like to take it, I like to look at it, analyze what they think the great points are, because a good email swipe should be written by the same copywriter, which means that the information of what you're promoting should be very, very identical to the actual product. So it's important that you're customizing it and making it feel like your own, and it's important there. So you gotta make sure as an email marketer these days, you wanna stop it. So Google SEO for email is real. It's a real thing, it's getting bigger and bigger right now. I think I've noticed it, even if you send an email today, and send an email tomorrow, and then send an email, and you send the same email 2 or 3 times, you can end up being in spam that 3rd time, and you'll be like, why? The first 2 went into the inbox. Well, the reality is because now they're looking at it as spam. All right? The next thing, let's talk about cleaning your list. So this applies to some people who've already had an email list, and it's an interesting topic because I hear it a lot, and people come to me a lot about this. And let me start off by saying there's a weird misconception of what this means. Okay, there's a super weird misconception because people think you can go and clean a list. You go to a service like Bright Verify, or there's a bunch of great services out there that clean lists. Well, let me tell you what those list cleaning actually means. Let's start off there. That means that they're going to take it and they're going to scrub it against their blacklist, their spam traps, and whatever else, their honeypots, and they're going to just check your email list. They're not checking for engagement. They're not checking for anything more than that it could be valid. And that's all that is. Now let's talk about what real list cleaning is, what we're talking about list cleaning as an email marketer, right? It's about actively, yeah, that's weird. Okay, they wrote it weird, but it's about very simple. It's about actively finding your email list and creating segments. Segments are where you're going and looking inside your email list from the activity and scrubbing that list based on what their activity rate was. So your openers, your clickers. I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard these terms before. The people that have opened your emails or clicked on your emails. It's about segmenting it. So my personal thing is 90 days. If you haven't opened or clicked an email of mine in 90 days, I'm going to scrub you off. And we do this every month in my email. In fact, one of my partners in Sendlane is Onyx and Gone. Just 30 days ago, I guess it was 30, 60 days ago, somewhere between 30 and 60 days, we just did a list scrubbing for him, and we wiped over 100,000 people off his email list. And now, that may sound crazy to some of you guys, 100,000 people. But guess what? 100,000 people weren't opening his email list. What happens if you've got 100,000 extra people on your email list going to an email, sending an email, bulk delivery email, and it's getting nothing done, right? Google, Yahoo, Bing, MSN, whoever it may be, they're looking at that going, people aren't really engaging, so it might be spam. So they start testing it. But if you clean your list so you're only looking for engaged subscribers, they will increase your deliverability. So the biggest problem that I see is that, as I said, the misconception, people will come to me as an email marketing company and they say, hey, I already cleaned my list through, Bright Verify or whatever the company is, I've got it all cleaned up. And I said, no, that doesn't actually mean you did anything. That just purely means that you got rid of it. But if they were pure opt-in traffic or a product buyer, chances are they would never even be scrubbed off that list anyways, right? So I say, I try to explain this, that it's all about active. People are active in your email list. It's going to continue. It's not about the big list. It's about having an active list. There's an old misconception that people used to come around. And I used to come to these events back in 2008, 2009. When we first came to these events, people would be like, hey, how big is your list? How big is your list? That's what people used to ask. And it was relevant back then. Now, it's not about how big your list is, it's how active is your list. How many clicks and opens can you get on your list? That's what's important, and that's what means, it tells you how you are treating your list, how active your list is, and how much they trust you. All right? So, let's talk about best time to mail. So, I'm going to talk about industry averages first. So this is the industry reports, all right? Something that we've seen in our system, something people have published all over the place, a lot. 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sundays, okay? Those are the times. And then 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., again, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then for Sunday, Saturday is actually considered the worst email delivery day, and then Sunday is actually 12 o'clock noon is actually the one-time slot. So I didn't put that on there correctly, but that's what industry reports are. But let me tell you something again. It's all about training your list of consistency. So I don't want to say this, so I want to make sure that I see lists that mail at midnight or 1 a.m. every day, and they get great opens, great clicks. Because they've trained their list that they know that they're going to get an email at 1 a.m. But if you aren't unsure, you're just starting off fresh, the one thing I tell you is stay consistent, stay wherever, but I always go with the average. I didn't put this slide on here, but there's also other reports you can go. If you have a Facebook fan page, for example, it's actually a really cool thing. If you actually have a Facebook fan page that's engaged with you, you may buy media, whatever you may do. If you actually go into the insights, you can actually see the chart of what every hour that your person is engaged social media. So if they're on social media, chances are they're checking Facebook, and you'll see the same thing of these times, especially in social media as well. We see that on Instagram, everywhere you go, with all the insights that you can get. All right? Now, This is something that I've been an advocate of for a while now, and it's been really interesting to watch the growth of it, which is really good. So you guys, when I say cloak your links, some people won't know what that means. What cloak your links is very simple. You've got a link, it's whatever your affiliate link is, wherever it's coming from, where, you know, JVZoo or ClickBank or Infusionsoft or wherever, GoToWebinar. The idea of cloaking your link is very, very simple. And when you're cloaking your link, there's two elements behind cloaking your links that's really interesting. So first of all, is your link, your domain, is it blacklisted? Is it got any issues? You know, those are things that you got to look at. And then you've got finding some great services that are out there that are what we call managed services. Just like your autoresponder that manages your reputation, you've got cloaking companies that manage their reputation. So it's really simple. But let's talk about the benefits really about it, right? So the first thing you do is we avoid spam filters, right? When you have a managed list where managed cloaker, they're looking at your, what's that called, the link. They're looking at it as a trusted link. So it's very important when it comes down to it, especially the way that Gmail and Yahoo and everybody, even Facebook now, they all go one link in now, right? So what that means, one link is, even if I mask it, they go one link in. So your autoresponder most likely will mask it one time. So let's say you put a JVZoo link in, just so a lot of people are here on JVZoo. So you take JVZoo and you put it in there as your link. Your autoresponder is actually cloaking one level of it, so it's showing on a completely different URL. Well, Google, Facebook, Yahoo, whoever it may be, they've gotten pretty smart about it. They know that people are doing this. So now they go one link in. And if they go one link in and find a link, like the JVZoo link, which is banned from every blacklist in the world, they see that, they're going to go ahead and say, oh, this might be spam. So now all of a sudden your chances of hitting a spam box increase dramatically. So it's important that you have that. So by adding a second layer, by cloaking your link with a managed one, you create a trusted link, for example, or whatever your personal WordPress version of the cloaking, whatever you may have, it adds a layer of buffer to it, adding a second layer. It's really simple, the thought process, but it's becoming a real thing right now. We see the people that don't use cloaking on their links, they dramatically started dropping their open rates, probably about, I think it was about February this year when it started changing. All right, now let's talk about the other benefits of cloaking your link. First thing, real-time tracking. Not everybody uses real-time tracking. If you have a service on your own, you have real-time tracking. You can see your opens, you can see your locations, you can track your devices. There's just so much you can do, and if you get a great one, you can actually go there and, you know, point people in different directions, and there's a lot of things that you can do when it comes down to it. And the last thing I always like to do is talk about is you can change links on the fly. So if I'm promoting someone's offer or promoting my page and I screwed up, I messed up something, I delete something, whatever it may be, you can change the link on the fly in the back end and not worry about a wasted mail. The worst thing you can do is send an email without a tracker or cloak on it, and you sit there and it's wasted traffic. The link doesn't work, the site's down, the site's crashed, whatever it may be, and you can't redirect your traffic. When you, as an email marketer or email list, you have the most laser targeted traffic that you have as an email marketer that's going. They want to know about this. And you're taking them through this, you know what I mean? It's not like you're buying traffic where you're buying a mass media they're bringing into them. You've got laser focused traffic. Every time you waste one click, it's a waste of traffic. So it's important to make sure that you're being able to not only inbox, but it's also important that you switch things on the fly by having something that cloaks your system, all right? The next thing here is the email curse words. I put a link down here you guys can use, and it's a really comprehensive link that we've just been kind of digging through. And it's overwhelming. I'm going to tell you guys this right now. That link you're going to look in there, it's overwhelming. And the reason why it's overwhelming is because I'm giving you all the words that can trigger it. Now, I say this with a disclaimer because it's really easy. If you're Apple and I use every word on that link, it's probably still going to inbox because they've got such trust and authority. But as an email marketer, we're very small compared to these guys that send billions of emails. Bulk mailers or email marketers are very small. So up here, you're actually seeing a bunch of different words on here. This does not mean that you're actually going to hit the spam box. It just purely means you're increasing the chances of doing it. So on that link there, emailcursewords.com, it's going to take you to my blog. You guys can check it out, read it, use it, leverage it. It's just a good practice not to be using those words, and that's it. If you can just avoid using those words in your email, you'll be a better email marketer because you've decreased dramatically the chances of hitting the spam box. Let's see here. All right, so let's talk about the deadly and awkward promotion tab. Something that a lot of people come to me and say, hey Jimmy, I'm hitting the promotion tab a lot. How do I get out of the promotion tab? You know, the promotion tab is on Gmail, right? So it depends on how you have your Gmail set up. There's like your main inbox, and then there's a social, there's a, what is it now? There's a new one now. Promotional and is it, what is it?
Forum.
What?
Forum.
Forum?
Forum.
Oh, I haven't even seen that one yet. And there's updates as well now. So there's all sorts of different ones out there. See, here's 4 things that will help you understand how promotion tabs work, right? The first thing is templates. An email has a template. People love using templates. They look pretty, they look great, they feel like you're following that format. Well, guess what? Guess who else uses templates? Large companies that promote to you. So the first thing that they look at is if you're looking at the HTML of your template that you created, this beautiful custom template, whatever your picture of you, some slogans, some stuff, and some fancy lines all around, that's the one thing that can trigger that promotion tab pretty quickly, just because they're used to it. Next thing we talk about is the big company words. Google, Facebook, Yahoo, Bing, YouTube, you know, things like that. Those words, I know that as an internet marketer or whatever you may be doing, those are words you want to use a lot. But the reality of things is, you've got to get creative, at least for now. So if I'm talking about Facebook, for example, I don't call it Facebook, I call it FB. If I talk about Google, I don't call it Google anymore, I call it Big G. YouTube, the world's biggest video, largest video player, a video site, or YT. You know, like, just get creative about it, creating a way to avoid the promotional tab as much as possible. Copy and paste will almost always get you into the promotional tab. Very simple. You're copy and pasting. John's copy and pasting. Bob's copy and pasting. Everyone does it. Well, if all these people are copy and pasting, what does this mean? Well, it's simple. They look at it and go, huh, it must be a promotional thing that everybody's emailing. So that's why it's hitting that, right? And the last thing is pictures and images. So I talk about this. Now, when I say pictures and images, I don't mean the pictures and images that I taking my cell phone out, taking a picture of somebody and putting on there. I'm talking about the pictures and images. You go onto Google Images and you go search clock, and you pull it up and you say, let me put this picture of a clock on here. Well, what does Gmail do, for example? So I talk about Gmail mostly because 85% of the world uses Gmail, so that's who I care about when it comes to email delivery, because everyone else kind of just follows suit behind it. So what Gmail does is very simple. They take your image, they run it through their Gmail image app scrubber. Their scrubber, basically, their search scrubber. They look for that image. Does that image look like one that's a stock image? Does it look like one that's used a lot? Well, guess what? Who uses big images? Big companies. So what does big companies do? They do promotionals. So the way that they think, the process, the algorithm is very simple. They're looking at your image, they're going, okay, that image must mean that they must be in a promotional offer. So that's how they do it. It's just a guess on their side, but it's also one of those weird things, all right? And the 7th and last thing that I talk about, all right, we'll do this again. Wow, it really hates Max. All right, the 7th and last thing that I talk about when it comes to email delivery that people have such a bad habit doing is testing. I talk about testing, and what I mean by testing is very simple. No matter what autoresponder you have, regardless who you have, they have this thing called test feature. What is a test feature? It's there for your own good. It's actually not only to look at the format, but it's actually there for your own good. They use the most stringent part of their email marketing service in most cases, which is what they call the transactional email portion of their service, and they send a single email to wherever you tell them to. So it's really simple. If it's not if it's not hitting your email inbox, why would it hit anyone else's inbox, right? Really simple logic, but people don't think about this when it comes down to it. So what I tell people, and I tell my bigger email marketers, make sure you have a bunch of test accounts, Gmails, Yahoos, whatever you want to do, and start testing your emails. Make sure you're testing those emails to see if they go into the inbox of your inboxes that you have set up, and make sure that they're actually getting to showing up there. Because if they're not showing up there, they're not going to show up in your customers' inboxes, so you're wasting your time. So make sure you're using the test feature. It's very, very important when it comes down to it. And then let's talk about the trusted versus untrusted. So I'm going to show you an image of this right now. I don't know why this came out really weird, but all right, so there's a test example, all right? So here I've got two different things here. One circled with red and one circled with white, without it, okay? The reason why this is, the top left there is trusted, and that's untrusted. What happens with Gmail is very simple. There's actually 2 things really fun about Gmail that I learned as an email marketer, especially when I opened my service. They have a behavioral they have a behavioral algorithm in everybody's email. So his email versus his email versus his email, they all have different behaviors because they look at their emails by the way that they actively use their email, right? So here you're seeing two different emails. The one difference between the two is one shows a URL and one doesn't. The one on the top left is what you call trusted. At that point, no matter what I write on that email, that's gonna inbox in my email, no matter what. It's just basically saying, oh, this guy's trusted. I don't need to check it. I'm just gonna deliver it. The one on the right is considered untrusted, okay? Untrusted is much different when it comes to it because now they have a reason to kind of question, is this a real person? So when I talk about the email algorithm, there's actually a little few things that come with this, right? So the first thing is real simple. Something that people don't know. Did you know if if John doesn't open your email, for the next 6 to 8 emails you don't open, did you know on the 9th email, the chances of them going to spam automatically is very high? 10th email, even higher. The 11th email, even higher. It's all about active engagement because they want to make the Gmail, for example, wants to make the experience of email better and better for a person. And that idea that if a person's not actively engaging with you in your email for 6 to 8 times, do you think they're going to engage on the 9th time, the 10th time? They said no. So we're going to throw them in spam. So, I talk about tests right now. I just kind of went on a tangent there for a second, but it's important to think about these things when you're doing it. And testing is just powerful and making sure you have it. So myself personally, inside of our company, we have like 25 what we call sandbox emails. Basically, they're testing emails. We buffer them, and then once this happens on the left-hand side, after so many tests, we dump that email because that email is no good anymore because now it's in your trusted address book and you can't remove them ever again. We're always looking for that when we're testing our emails. So it's important there. Just because it's going into your inbox and you see it like this where it doesn't show exactly where it's coming from, it just shows it, it's trusted. It's no longer relevant. It doesn't mean that anything. I can write every curse word, every email thing, and just send it, and it's gonna hit the inbox, all right? And, cool. And here's the link, all right? So you can download this presentation, and that presentation is long, right? Yeah, it's not my fault. JimmyKimPresentation.com. I just made a link. It goes by Amazon S3. Grab it. You can download this entire presentation, the links, everything inside there, so you can use it for whatever you want to do when it comes down to it. All right. Questions, I guess. It looks like we were taking questions at the end, so I can ask. If anyone's got any questions, I'd be happy to help. Yes?
You were mentioning that as far as copying and pasting emails, you were saying that like the first two might go through, but then the third one and the fourth one may not. So were you trying to say that we should be using a spinner for our email?
No, what I was trying to use that as a pure example that let's say I have an email, right? And I sent it the first time and it went in inbox and did great. All right. Then I had the second email, that same email, and I just decided to hit resend and send that same email, and then it still went in great. Just because the first 2 times went in doesn't mean that third time is going to go in, because every time you send it, it started to trigger and build a database of that exact structure of email. So I'm not talking about using a spinner, but what I am talking about is making sure that you need to make sure that every email you send, no matter what, even if it's mailing to your segment or whatever, you should always be writing a fresh email. That's what I'm talking about.
So then, like, even with the last example there, where you were saying Jimmy Kim via instead of Jimmy Kim at, you should even do those differently. So via doesn't work every single time.
No, so what that meant, I think you got a misconception of what this page was. This is just the trusted inbox thing. So what you're seeing here different is very simple. One is showing that Google, this is, for example, Gmail, right? So the one on the top left means that Gmail trusts this email address, okay?
For that inbox.
Yeah, it's gonna force the inbox no matter what on the left-hand side because it trusts it. So that has nothing to do with that other segment. So I just want to make sure. This on the bottom right means that it's untrusted. So untrusted is good. It's a good thing that you're delivering on untrusted. So when you're using the test feature of your autoresponder, it's important to make sure that the email that you test looks like the bottom right, not the bottom top left. Does that make sense? No?
It's not about what you actually type in.
This is when you're testing. I'm not talking about the copy and paste earlier. That's what I'm trying to separate. Oh yeah, you can talk to me. Any other questions? I probably need a mic or something. Stand up and shout.
Hi Jimmy, I'm Declan from Ireland. Just two little questions for you. You were saying about images. I was told previously before that it's good to sort of build a relationship by putting a photograph maybe of yourself at the bottom of an email. Do you reckon that will affect?
As long as it's one that you took, the best thing you can always do with images, especially when you're trying to take personal, is use a camera, something that, as long as it's not an image. And now, if you became super famous in the next 3 years and everybody used your image all over Google, and you use one of those images, then things change, right? But it's all about using an image that's fresh.
And sorry, one more thing. If I'm sending an email to 1,000 people, is it possible for, say, 500 of them to go inbox and the other 500 to not go inbox? I know all about whitelisting your emails. It's important to tell people that. But say, is it possible, like, if one email goes into inbox, is it 99% sure that most of them will? No?
Remember how I talked about the behavioral algorithm of Gmail now? So everybody's inboxes are set up differently. Your maximum goal is to make sure that all your sandbox tests, why I talk about testing is, if you can test in 3-4 email accounts, right? The idea is if you test these 3-4 and they inbox correctly, that it would help dramatically increase the amount that it's going to inbox to your people. Just because you said 1,000 does not mean all of them are going to inbox and none of them are going to inbox. It's going to be a split. No matter how good you are as an email marketer, it's very hard to be at 100%.
All right, thanks.
Yep, I got a couple people back there. Yeah, that's fine.
Hi Jimmy, I'm Carl from England. I use Google Analytics to track my links. Can you use a link cloaker with that? The URL builder.
Can you come closer to the mic?
Sorry, is it possible to use the Google URL builder?
The Google URL shortener, you're saying, yeah?
Yeah, because in my emails, that's what I use to track. I use Google Analytics.
So,
can you use that with a cloaker? It's just something I've been asked myself, and I don't know. So can you use a cloaked link in Google Analytics?
In Google Analytics, I don't understand what you mean by in Google Analytics.
Okay, when I send out an email, I track the links using Google Analytics. So I use their URL builder, and I look in Google and it tells me where the customers are coming from.
So you could cloak that link, correct, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, so I'm asking, is it possible to cloak the Google Analytics link?
Yes,
All right,
100%.
okay. Lovely, thank you.
Yeah. Up here. I got a couple here.
I just, in the last couple of days, saw a new software or system that's being promoted that allows you to put video and buttons and stuff in your email. How would that affect things?
It's all about uniqueness, right?
SAS, so it's an online service that creates these things and then you send out the emails.
Yeah, I've been building something for myself for like different things. The thing is all about using it in a way where you're not using it all the time, okay? When you're using things all the time, the chances of, it would be not about inboxing, but more the promotion tab at that point. And the more you use it and more often you use it, not only is it less effective to your subscribers, but secondly, it's just good to create balance when it comes down to it. So as long as you're not over abusing it, you should be okay, and you create a good trust with it, but you can't just use it for every email if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, well, I'm just asking, I mean, if Google Gmail picks up a video and an email, aren't they immediately going to think it's...
Well, it wouldn't be video in email, it'd just be a GIF in email.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'd be a custom GIF, and I would hope that you're using a GIF, something. So I don't think they scrub GIFs yet, so I'm not really sure about that one, actually.
Okay, thanks.
Got two up here. We'll start here. I guess he had his hand up right here.
Okay, so what I wanted to know is, when you create your 25 test email addresses, is there a danger that they're all going to be treated exactly the same? And if that's the case, then what do you do to make sure that they're...
So 25 is extreme on our case because we're just crazy about it, but when you create 2, 3, 4, they do sometimes act the same. It's very important to look at it that way. That's why we're always looking for, is it trusted, untrusted, and we're always creating new email addresses as well too. I mean, emails are free, so you just go sign them up and use it as a sandbox.
So you don't have to kind of create them from different locations or
No,
anything like that?
that doesn't matter. It's just all about engagement and so forth. Right behind you.
I'm Armin from Germany. Can you make also tech-based email marketing. This means, for example, in LinkedIn or in Facebook or in other social medias, you give tags, you give a lot of tags so that you really can segment your target group. So if, for example, if like in a CRM system, if then there are at least 100,000 people or so, then you have, for example, for every about 10 or 15 or 20 different tags. For example, if he's buying this product, then you give him a tag and so that you really can.
You're talking about automation?
Yes.
Okay.
Tagging.
Tagging you're talking
Tagging,
about. Okay,
yes.
what about it?
And does Sendlane offer?
Oh yeah, Sendlane, yeah, we do tagging, automation, webhooks, we all do all that, landing pages, everything in there already. It's all included as a main product.
And it's also automatically, for example, that if one is buying a product with your shop, so that immediately the tag is then.
Yeah, you have to set it up, but you can set up automation where if a person gets added to a list, you can tag him. You can even fire a webhook. So if they go to a thank you page, you can have them fire another email. You can have them go to another autoresponder, whatever you want to do. Yes?
Because the most email marketing systems up to nowadays always, they are list based.
Yeah.
So that,
We do both list and tag based.
Great.
Back here, so.
I can't pronounce that. Is there a difference between sending the email all at once, so you're sending one email, or breaking it up and sending a bulk of 100 at a time? Is there any difference?
There is actually a difference. Here's what happens if you send 100 at a time. So she asked if you send 100, if you got, let's say you have 1,000 emails, you want to send 100 at a time versus 1,000. Here's the positives and negatives. If you send it 100 at a time, if you make 10 unique emails, then it would inbox better. But if you made one unique email and sent it 10 different times to 10 different lists, what happens? Remember I just talked about it? You're using copy and paste. So it's a catch-22 when it comes down to it. So there's no real good answer, but if you wrote 10 different emails for 100 people at a time, you would absolutely inbox way better. But that's up to you if you want to do that.
So obviously we all track opens, we all track clicks. Is there a way to track how many emails actually made it into the inbox, were actually delivered?
There's nothing that I know of that actually does exactly that. That'd be great, but I don't think Google or any of the guys will ever give you that information. So that's based on their email service, right?
Hi, my name is Rohit. I'm from Orange County. My question is, how do you improve your sender reputation?
Sender reputation. Well, that can go on forever. Sender reputation, just to give me an idea, is most people who are not using a shared service, who has managed services, people who are using their own SMTP and so forth, really rely on that. That sender reputation, though it's a number that people see and people talk about, the best way is it's just about engagement, just like I've talked about. So if you're actively following, cleaning your list, keeping your list engaged, keeping them opening, and scrubbing your list. So when you do it, when we first started Sendlane, we actually were doing our own, that's how it started, right? We just wanted to be mail our own bulk email. And we used to do 30-day scrubbing on our email list back then because it's so important to keep that engagement really high, and that's how it improves your engagement. That number is derived on what they see of the number of opens, the number of engagement, number of people who click spam, and so forth. Does that make sense? Cool. So anyone else? I think I have one more over here. No.
Jimmy Steve Haas. Quick question for you. Have you noticed that link, how many links you have in an email affect your inbox, especially for promotions?
It's how many unique links you have. So if you have 8 different unique links of different links, you're going to affect yourself. But if you're using the same link 5 times in an email, just throughout the email, it won't affect you. Does that make sense? Like, there's no threshold though. It just depends how they feel and how finicky they are about it.
Right. Social media links.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you're talking about like social media. Yeah. That stuff, they seem to be okay with those links. They don't seem to care about those. So again, promotional tab though, because of the link structure. Cool?
I just have one question. You were talking about the copy and paste.
Sure.
How does that affect when you build email sequences that go out on automation, so you have them, it will be the same email, effectively going to lots of different people over a period?
Correct. So when you're doing autoresponders or automated sequences, the difference is they actually go out as transactional emails and not bulk email. So it changes the game there with delivery. So you're sending one at a time. So it does, and it can affect it. I've seen it where after someone has 100,000 people go through that system, then it starts affecting it. So it's important to be active about looking at it and maintaining and watching your open rates there. Your first autoresponder message or automated response should always be at least 50 to 60% because that first one is important. So if you're not seeing that, you've got an issue. So it could be your swipe, list, whatever it could be. But because it goes through transactional and not through bulk, it changes the way that it's delivered.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool.
Anybody else?
All right, cool. Well, thank you for having me.
Awesome. Give it up for Jimmy Kim.